Hi everyone, Side here. Hopefully everyone's doing well and staying safe, healthy and sane. I talked in my last video about Devil May Cry and how I've been playing the game, basically binging it. Is that how you pronounce it? Anyway. And over the weekend I finished with the 5th installment of the game. And before I continue, I have to say my YouTube feed has been full of DMC related videos recently for some reason. And I came across these videos of, I haven't unlocked this ability and I don't know if I ever will. But so Virgil has this provocation or taunt or whatever you want to call it, X provocation. And it's just amazing. So when he does that, he summons his doppelganger, which is basically like a ghost version of his devil trigger form. And the doppelganger just starts dancing. And I've read comments, I don't know if this is actual canon or not, but apparently doppelgangers can only do things that their originals can do. So seeing those dance moves, it's like, so Virgil supposedly knows how to dance, and it's like I've seen the dance moves of the other characters and they are not as groovy, I guess you could say that, but those are just hilarious. And the theme song for that provocation just keeps playing in my head. It's just non-stop, like an earworm there. And also I have, of course, Devil Trigger stuck in my head and Bury the Light. Of course, you know, small bits, not the entire song, but just random bits start playing in my head. And then I've seen all these like meme videos, like out of context stuff, and it's just, yeah, it's great. But so I finished the game and it was amazing. It was an emotional roller coaster for sure. Like I was laughing at times because it was so, like, I know those were the kind of scenes where I guess I should have been crying, but it was just like when Dante, this is spoilers by the way, so if you haven't played the game yet and you want to play it, then please stop watching this video because I'll be revealing spoilers in this video. But anyway, so when I think this was closer to like mission 17, 18, something like that, I don't remember exactly, but Dante faces off with Virgil while Virgil is in his Urizen form. So basically, if you haven't played until then, you don't know for sure who Urizen is, but it's Virgil. Power-hungry Virgil decided to, yeah, go nuts about it, about gaining more power. And there's this house that serves as the background, and it's like it's their house, you know, the house they grew up in. And then Dante's like, I don't remember the exact words, but he was basically trying to get Virgil to remember. Oh yeah, it was about how he said to Virgil that, you know, Mom actually tried looking for you, but she couldn't find you, and then she died. Because Virgil has apparently spent his entire life thinking that he was just abandoned, that their mother favored Dante over him. And so I guess he just decided that he doesn't want to be abandoned anymore, so he just abandons everyone else and just becomes this power-hungry, power-focused person and determined, I can speak. Anyways, he's very hell-bent on getting stronger, not be weak, so that people he cares about won't be hurt anymore. No, because I think deep down he does care about Dante and quite a lot. And then And then another really emotional, but also kind of funny, because it was so dramatic in a way, and the guys were not really handling these emotional, flashbacks too well. And I think this was mission 19, where Dante and Virgil are once again fighting, but this time Virgil is in his human form. And during the fight, Dante is like, "Is this why you cut off your son's arm?" And then Virgil is like, "My son means nothing to me," or something. But then it's like, apparently that's been sort of like a translation error or something like that from Japanese to English. And I've seen people be like, in the Japanese version, Virgil's line is more like, "Son, what son?" But in a way, the English version also makes sense. Like, okay, yeah, it is abrupt, but it's also like, he's like, "What son? Like, that means nothing to me." Basically, he's trying to be like, in my opinion, he's trying to be like, "I know nothing about any son, so that's irrelevant to me. And, even if I have one, then it doesn't really matter." Or that's what he's trying to convince himself and everyone else. And then a moment later, he's like, "Wait a minute, what son? What are you talking about?" And then, Dante is like, "Nero." And then Virgil is like, "Nero, really?" And then Dante's like, "Don't you remember?" And then Virgil goes like, well, that was a long time ago." Like, what? Anyways, and then when Nero shows up and he stops his uncle and father from killing one another, and that whole scene is so great. And then when Nero unleashes his own devil trigger form for the first time, and Virgil is like, "What power is that? What is this power?" And it's like, dude, come on. And then, yeah, the whole fight thing, like, people are getting smacked around. Nero punches Dante, and Dante the whole time. Yeah, and the scene where Dante reveals to Nero that, "This dude is actually your dad, and I don't want you to kill him." That's why Dante was trying to keep Nero out of these fights. He didn't want Nero involved. And Nero is like, because I think in a way he might have thought that Dante was maybe his father, and then because they looked alike in the fourth game, But anyway, so I think, especially when Dante calls Nero dead weight, I think that really stung. That keeps getting brought up a few times. Like when Nero smacks Dante, he's like, "Who's dead weight now?" or something like that. And I think, yeah, so Nero wanted to go with Dante to face off Urizen/Virgil, and then Dante was like, "He's your damn father," and then Nero is like so taken aback. It's just, the whole thing is so well written, and the animation and the expressions and the whole thing was just so amazing. And I was just here screaming and laughing like, somebody told him. I had been hoping somebody tells him that, "Hey, you have a dad, and this is your dad," and and then Nero kind of shuts off for a moment, I think. And then he calls Kiri, and then decides to, he finally has a family. He finally knows for sure he has family, and he doesn't want to lose it, so he goes and tries to stop his uncle and Daddy Dearest from killing each other. And you know, Dante lets Nero finally have a fight with Virgil, like a face-off. I think in a way he wanted Nero to have the chance to prove himself to Virgil while Virgil was in a human form. Like, of course, Virgil had encountered Nero before and stuff like that, but to me also the fact that Virgil went to Nero's place and yoinked off his son's arm without even realizing that this is his son. Like, seeing Nero didn't ring any bells in his mind. Like, you know, this guy actually looks a lot like me when I was younger. Nothing like that. It's just arm, yoink, leave. Talk about emotional detachment there. Anyways, and so yeah, that, like, it just, it's so amazing. And I've, like, this entire weekend I've been thinking about this, and it's like, you guys know that I write stories as well, and it's like, I will never be able to top this kind of drama, most likely, and that's okay in a way, but it's also like, yeah, I'm just reeling from all this and really stunned, and it's just so well done. I think so anyway. But yeah, they have a face off, and then even Virgil is trying to be like, you know, this has nothing to do with you, and Nero is like, it has everything to do with me, and then at some point he tells Virgil, fuck you, and, you know, shit like that. And I saw videos like, if you take enough damage and Virgil gets to attack you in a specific way, as you're Nero, then he'll tell Nero it's past your bedtime. And it's like, yeah. Anyway, it was great. And then when the twins decide that they are going to destroy the rest of the roots of the Qualipoth, I don't know how to pronounce that, but that hell tree or whatever, they decide to go to the underworld, the hell, together, and Nero wants to go with them, and they're both like, nah, you stay here, you know, look after the human world for us. And then Virgil holds out his book of freaking poetry. The dude obviously loves poetry, I guess. William Blake, I think, was mentioned. And is like, you know, hold on to that until I get back or whatever. And then Nero still wants to go after them, runs after them, and the twins, at the exact same time, they just, you know, stretch out their arms and punch Nero in the face, and he's sent flying back, and then the two just jump away. And I think, to me, it's also like, I think for Dante, it's like he feels obligated to do that. And maybe it's also a little bit about escaping this sudden emotional thing that showed up in his life. And for Virgil, I think it's definitely, first of all, there's his rivalry with Dante, so he wants to, you know, keep at that, but also he wants to escape the sudden realization that he has a son. And then there was I played through, like, immediately after finishing my run as Nero, Dante, and V, I started a Virgil playthrough, which is basically the same game, but with some additional cutscenes. And I do think some of the levels were also slightly different, so it wasn't exactly the same. Because, of course, Virgil's abilities to traverse and shit like that is different from the other characters. And then, you know, at the end of that run, I saw this cutscene with Dante and Virgil down in hell or underworld or whatever you want to call it. And they were like, you know, discussing the size of the tree and if Virgil is trying to compensate for something. And he was like, you know, yeah, your incompetence to Dante, and then at some point Dante is like, so how was it, catching up with your kid? And then Virgil is like, there's no need for us to, catch up or anything like that. And then Dante says that, with an attitude like that, you're not going to get to see your grandkids. And I think that actually stung Virgil, because he was immediately like, shut up or something. It's just so great. And I do want a Devil May Cry 6 game. I do want to see these two get out of hell and get to spend more time with Nero. But on the other hand, it also feels very satisfactory that, those two got to... I mean, they still have that rivalry bond, but I do think that Dante telling Virgil that, hey, Mom actually tried to look for you and stuff like that, I think it might have gone through Virgil's thick skull. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, it's just an amazing game. And I do wish there was more, like, if we do get a new game, I wish it was more about Sparta and how he met Eva, which is apparently their mother's name, the twins. And then what their life was like before Mundus attacked their home. And then what happened to them after, because apparently they lived separate lives for quite a good while before somehow meeting again. And then DMC3 happened. And then there's, of course, like, how did Virgil meet Nero's mom? And there's been some theories about that as well, that, that because of the dancing doppelganger, it's like fans are theorizing that that's how he seduced Nero's mom with those moves. I don't know. But it would definitely be interesting. And then, of course, seeing Nero again, because I think he's a great character. Like, I know some people didn't like him when he showed up in 4 and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people also didn't like his haircut, changing so much. And his features are more Virgil than they were in the 4th game. But not obviously, but apparently the 5th game is supposed to happen not too long after the events of 4, so after what happens in Fortuna. But to me, it would make more sense if more time had passed, because of how his face changes. Like, in the 4th game, he looked a child, but now he's obviously a young man. And I rarely get this feeling about any character or any real person, but I just have this almost motherly instinct toward that boy. It's like, especially when, it was just tearing me apart, thinking that he'd never know who's his real father, and then he gets to know it, and then the father just immediately leaves. Like, first there was the emotional damage of seeing that scene where Virgil comes by and just yoinks Nero's arm off, and then seeing the arm transform into Yamato, I was like, oh, that's Virgil. And Virgil didn't say a word, nothing, just like, I'm taking this back. Nothing about, hey son, or something. But I guess he didn't even realize that Nero was his son. Maybe he was like, oh, just another Sparta's child or whatever, but I'm taking this. I don't know. I don't know what was going on there, but still. And then, thinking that at the moment, because Nero went in fighting against Urizen, knowing that Urizen was the demon who stole his arm, ripped off his arm, to gain more power. And then for Dante to tell him that Urizen is actually Virgil and Virgil is Nero's father, Nero had to realize at that moment that my own father came in and just ripped my arm off to become a really ugly demon with a huge tree, a houseplant. I think they use that term quite a lot in the game. So I felt that emotional damage for him, you know. Anyways, I know this was a lot of spoilers for the game, but I just really wanted to talk about all the scenes that really impressed me and emotionally damaged me, and all of these scenes that I'm still thinking about. And yeah, so I finished a playthrough as Virgil, and then I immediately started another rerun of the game with the Nero Dante V route, just because I want to, like, I know I missed out on some items and I know I could have done better in some fights, and it's just an amazing game. The music is great, the fights are great, the combat is great, and the story is amazing, and I keep seeing all of these new details all the time that I missed the first time. And then of course I also want to try and unlock as many of their abilities as possible. I'm also for the first time ever trying the Bloody Palace thing. I started that off with Nero and I got to level 13, but then I realized that maybe I should play this as Virgil, because that man's abilities are just broken. You know, he's so... even as someone as inexperienced as me, I can just, you know, whack through enemies like they're cheese, soft cheese, and it's just great. And then there's all those little lines that he sometimes says, like too slow, and I can't do the right voice, but it's just random, you know, noises. And I really do want to try and unlock that doppelganger dance taunts, because like when you do that, or when I've seen people do it on videos, he starts, like the music starts playing and then Virgil starts looking around like, what is that? Then his doppelganger shows up and starts dancing, and Virgil is immediately like, what is this creature doing? What is my ghost or whatever doing? And then he keeps following the doppelganger, like as the ghost keeps going around him, Virgil moves along and, you know, keeps it in his line of sight, and the doppelganger invites him to start dancing as well, and then Virgil is like, no, and then even, you know, face palming there, and then eventually just, you know, it's like enough and unleashes, you know, Yamato. And yeah, I do want to try and see if I could unlock that, but it's a lot of red orbs, and I want to unlock all the other abilities first as well. And I've seen videos where people do that dance taunt and then Dante starts dancing as well. I know there's some specific requirements to have that, but it's still pretty funny. Anyways, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about all of this. And yeah, really sorry about all the spoilers, and maybe I remembered some parts wrong, but I did my best. I didn't sleep too well this weekend because I was so worked up over all of this amazingness. And yeah, and then I've been having this creative slump where I'm just sitting around like, you know, just emotionally stunned there. Stunned. Anyway. So yeah, writing feels difficult now that I've seen this greatness through and through. And I definitely do want to play especially 3, 1, and 4 again. To catch some of the things that I had missed, but then I saw people in videos bring them up, so I want to play these games again. And I also do want to, like, now I've been playing on easy, even on these reruns, because I want to enjoy the game. But I'm thinking of changing the difficulty to the normal level. I think I mentioned this in the last video that I would do that, but I'm a little shy about playing on normal, even though I know that, you know, it should be fine. I know the game well enough by now, but still. So yeah, Bloody Palace, if I want to keep at it, it's going to be very difficult for me, but I'm gonna try and see how far I can get. Anyways, enough of that. And as you can see, I need to do things to my hair. Need to color it, and then I'm thinking of cutting, like having a haircut, because this is too thick. Too thick. I don't like it. But yeah, anyways, that's all, and hopefully you enjoyed this rambling of someone discovering. I mean, I knew about Devil May Cry in the mid 2000s and tried to play them when I was younger, but now I got through them and it was amazing. And yeah, I just love this series. Yeah, anyways, that's seriously all, and we'll see what I talk about in the next video, if it's still Devil May Cry or if it's something else. But anyways, hopefully everyone will have a great week ahead. Take care, stay healthy, safe, and sane. And yeah, I'll talk to you all later. Bye!